A few words about me, if you don't know me. I work for ILC, International Language Center. I'm a director of studies here, and I'm also a CLTS, PSLTS trainer. I've been working for quite a long time, actually in total around 15 years. And I do hope, okay, but I can't hear. The others can hear me, Ludmila, so maybe something with your settings, especially if you use the telephone. Then if you use the telephone, you need to tap on the screen and do something with your telephone settings. Okay, so as I told you, I know some information about teaching English, and I'm happy to share with you. So today, reading. Why reading? Actually, if I ask my students what they would like to do more during the class, they will say that they're more interested in vocabulary, grammar, speaking. But when it comes to reading, they say that, oh no, I can do it myself at home. And actually, teenagers and young learners nowadays do not like reading a lot. In your case, is the situation the same? Do your students like reading? Again, plus if yes, minus if not. To the chat box. Okay, same situation, right? Unfortunately. Oh, good for you, Ludmila. But still, we need to do some reading in class, at least because we sometimes use the texts to present some grammar and vocabulary further. So what can we do? We can make our reading a little bit more communicative. So speaking, that is what our students want. So if you're talking about communication, right? Actually, it is exchanging of information between two people, let's say. And when an author writes a text, actually, what does he or she want? They want to speak to the readers. However, I don't think this answer will satisfy our students. They don't care what they also wanted. So let's look further. What else is communication? It is interaction where there is a speaker and a listener. How can we do it during the class? We can do it by introducing some speaking activities. And actually, it is easier to do in class as there are some procedures, some stages of a reading lesson where we can implement communication. And okay, so let's have a look if it can be communicative. Think of the lesson, a typical reading lesson. And if you look at it, I would say that there are three most important parts of the lesson. So we have something which goes before reading, so or pre-reading activities, right? Yes, something which goes while reading and something that we can do after reading. And please, can you mute yourselves if it's possible? Okay, thank you. So pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading. So let's look at them separately. First, pre-reading activity. And my question is, what for do we need pre-reading activities? Just for you 30 seconds to think if we really need them, and if yes, why? In the chat box, please, 1 or 2 words. Too much to write, right? Okay, then get students involved, right? Right, raise some interest, good. Fine, so we kind of prepare our students to what is going to happen during the lesson, right? Right. Thank you very much. Yes, very good ideas. Thank you. So we need to kind of build a context, right, in which we are going to work during the lesson. And yes, we pre-teach some blocking vocabulary if it's necessary. You're so clever. You know so much. Let's see if I can share anything new with you. Right, to hint what topic. That's true. Okay, so how can we do that? Mostly by checking what the students already know and by means of prediction, I would say. And yeah, it. So let's see, what can it be? Students can share the knowledge on the topic. Usually when I have a text, a reading text, and for example, it is about traveling to Austria. Usually for pre-reading activities, it can be either some questions about Austria, or it can be some questions about traveling in general. So we look at the wide, bigger picture, right? And we do not limit ourselves to the content of the text. How can it be done? I usually ask my students to discuss the questions in pairs. What's important when we give the task, the discussion task, we need to give them some purpose to listen. And it will make your feedback on this activity easier. If your students will not need to repeat what they have just said to their partner in front of the class. So what communicative tasks can be given? See what you have in common, find out something that you have in common, or remember some interesting facts about your partner. Just something like that. What else can be done? We can do some quiz to learn more about the topic. Again, if we are talking about traveling to Austria, there might be some quiz on just to check what the students know about this country. Or if it is some sports or Olympic Games, the questions might be to check what the learners know about the Olympic Games. Again, how to make it communicative. Asking students to do it in pairs, right? So that they work together, they talk to each other, and they do the task and help each other. Pre-reading activities are also ones that are that require students to predict something. And the predictions, what might they be based on? Actually, if you look at the text, what do we have here? We have here a heading, a title. Do something funny for money, Red Nose Day. Well, so what conclusion already can we make? So something about money, something about Red Nose Day, right? So actually, what is Red Nose Day? Right? Some specific day, maybe. Then we can look at the pictures. And what can we see? Right here, that actually a lot of people are involved there, even police officers. And everybody is wearing a red nose, right? And the predictions, they can be made based on some useful language or some vocabulary from the text. Here we have raise money, a unique day, donate money, a comedian, poverty, and charity. So looking at the title, looking at the pictures, looking at the important words, students may talk to each other and discuss what they think the text is about and make some conclusion. It is very important that after prediction, straight away after prediction, your students start reading the text and checking if their predictions are correct or not. So what is important here? It is important to make some records of predictions, right? And again, as I told you, do it straight away. If you think that you need to pre-teach some blocking vocabulary, it means that it has to be done either before prediction or after gist reading. So here one of the options, one of the predictions, one of the ways to predict the content of the text. One more thing is some knowledge of the author. If you read something where you can see who the author is, and this writer has his or her typical style, typical preferred types of writing, you can also predict what the text might be about. What else? Younger learners, they are more lucky than adults. In their books, course books, you can sometimes find some comics. And as it is one of the sources of prediction. The students look at the pictures and decide, talk to each other, think what the story might be about. And just probably if you want your student to speak more, then you may regroup them and ask to share their ideas with other groups and other pairs. What else can be done? You can give the pictures. It's very similar to the previous ones. But in this case, the pictures are not in a correct order. Again, your students work together. They talk to each other. They think how they might put these particular pictures in which correct order. And then they check against the text. And the question was if I give any models here. Actually, no, because in this case, it's not about speaking correctly. Yeah, and it's not about accuracy, it's about fluency. So we give the chance to learners to talk, to somehow communicate possible content of the reading text. So we remember that the focus of our lesson is reading. Yeah, so the aim of our lesson is to make students read and do some tasks based on reading and develop reading sub-skills. And speaking is something that helps, probably in some cases, and something that makes students more engaged. So no, I don't give any models here. Idea, the most important thing here is idea. What they think, they predict, and then they read and see if they guessed correctly. It can be kind of competition, probably, who guessed more or who guessed everything. Okay. Sometimes in the text, there are some questions. These ones are from, if I'm not mistaken, English file upper intermediate. And the text is about traveling, some general factual information, I would say. First thing to do is to look at the questions. Students discuss them, think about possible answers. And again, we make some notes, and then they read the text and find out if their answers are correct or not. For example, here is question number 3. Why can you sometimes smell roast chicken in a plane when they are serving you fish? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any ideas? So why can you smell roast chicken in a plane when they're serving you fish? Anyone? Oh, Olga, you are so clever. Thank you very much. Yes. No, actually, yeah, we already got the winner, Olga. Yeah, the answer is not very cheerful, I would say, right? That is, sometimes birds can be caught by engines. So we predicted, and then we read the text and checked if the answers were correct or not. The same can be done with true-false statements. But again, if the text is about some factual information, then you can look at statements for true-false activity. Students first talk to each other, discuss if the statement is true or not, why they think so, and only then they read the text and check if their predictions were correct or not. So also one of the options how to make it a bit communicative. Okay, let's move on. We can also ask our students to brainstorm some ideas. Brainstorm something before reading the text. And again, now my question will be just, you don't need to write a lot, only one word. Now, think of the, sorry for the topics, but I like crime. I like detective stories very much. So that's why, again, sorry for that, but please, in the chat box, can you write one word which you think should definitely be in the text about a murder? Again, one word that you think should definitely be in the text about a murder. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay. Wow. Nice ideas. Okay. Now, here is the title of the text. Okay, neighbors. Here is the title of the text. Who murdered Jill Dender? And I ask my students to look at the list of words we just came up with and think of 5 of them which will 100% be there in this text. So they talk to each other, they come up with the list of these words, just probably put them in the order from the most likely word to be there to the least likely word. And what we do next? We read the text and find out how correct our predictions were. Let's look what we have. We have, we have neighbors, police, knife, victim, killed, blood, detective, evidence. Okay, let's have a look what we have. Okay, so now we have killing, so something close. Police, good. Victim, nice. Okay, I'm not sure that we have blood, knife, and evidence. Okay, but still, quite good, quite good. Fine. Next, let's move on. I will skip from pre-reading activities to post-reading activities, and I will leave while reading activities for just the last part of our session, if you don't mind. So again, post-reading activities. Why do we need them? 2 words. Why do we need these type of tasks? Okay. To tell you the truth, checking and understanding is a kind of while reading activity. We because when students do the task, this true or false activity, or answering the questions, or any other task, they have to see the text. So actually, post-reading activities do not check the understanding. Check again happens while we read. Agree that post-reading helps us to make a task more personalized. Students can react on what they have just read. Agree that there has to be some personal involvement in the content of the text. Okay, so how can we do it? If you open a course book, actually every course book has something like this. These 3 boxes, they are taken from different sets of course books. Again, post-reading activities, they actually can be divided into 2 parts. Something that is connected to the text, so we somehow respond to the content of the text, and another part is about let's say speaking extension, so we continue talking on the context in which we read the text. So here are some examples of questions from the book. Why not to use them, right? Discussion of if you what you liked about the text, what you disliked about the text, if you agree with the text and why, if you disagree with the text and why, if you have read something interesting, if there was there was nothing interesting. And again, we work in pairs, work in small groups, we compare our ideas, we prove our ideas, and that is the way how we communicate. What else can be done as post-reading activities? Some of them have mentioned that it can be summarizing what we have read, especially if you have let's say you have some unit devoted to some topic, and that is kind of the last text in the unit. You can summarize the whole, I would say, all the texts you read within this unit. It can be class survey. For example, if it was traveling to Austria, if it was traveling to Austria, it can be kind of class survey. Who would like to go there after having read the text? Why not? If it's a text with a lot of characters there and some action, your students might role play their most favorite part of the story. What else? They might, if they didn't like the ending, they might in small groups in pairs, they might create their own ending, think of their way to finish the story. Okay, what else? One more thing is comprehension dice. These are two examples of them. Students work in pairs or small groups. They toss the die and answer the question, right? The questions are about their perception of the text mostly. Yes. Okay, again, they answer the question and they give their opinion and then they explain why. Actually, in this particular case, make sure that the other students in the group have the reason to listen to the one who is talking. So if it's the question, can you make a text to self connection? Can you make a text to self connection to the story? Okay, sorry. Others have to listen and find something interesting about their partners. If it's something like what is the most important thing you learned from the text, the other students have to listen and kind of agree or disagree, or say if they feel the same or different and why. What else? Okay, so that was about post-reading activities. Yes, and there was one good idea that we can write can continue the story, not necessarily write, or we can create what happened next, right? Now, while reading activities, again, how can we make them communicative? As I told you, all the tasks like task for gist reading, for specific information, for detailed comprehension, they are all while reading activities, because again, and I insist, really truly insist, that when the students do the task, they see the text. We do not check their memory, we check their reading subskills, and so that is a little bit different because in some cases students have to very quickly move their eyes across the text, I would say, and find important words. Or in other cases, they have to read a few sentences and analyze them and think what is actually written there and what else actually meant. So again, task and text go together. And to make our students talk to each other, we ask them to compare the answers. One reason, they speak. That is what we wanted. The second reason, when they compare the answers, it's kind of shared responsibility. So if it happens that the answer is not correct, and you compared your answer with the partner before, now you know that it's not only your mistake, that you are not the only one who made it, but you also have a partner who has made the same mistake, right? So in that case, I would say that it might help students to, if not to feel more self-confident, at least not to feel less self-confident. Again, in that case, it can be either a while reading activity. It depends on how much you read, how long your beginning is, or it can be pre-reading activity. If it's one paragraph, very short, you read this paragraph and you make some prediction of what the text is about. If you read half of the text and then predict the ending, it's most likely while reading activity. Again, read 2 paragraphs, discussed the ending with the partner. Read the ending and predict the beginning. Same here. Also, read the ending, talk to partner, predict it. And read the middle and predict the beginning and the ending. Why not? In that case, the only problem might be is that you either need to make the copy of the text for the students and fold it, or your students have to be honest, and if you ask them to hide some parts of the text, they will do that. Okay. Now, let's look at some fun, probably activities to make reading, while reading activities, communicative. The first one is run and read. I'm so sorry that we cannot do it in real life. I would make you read and I would make you run, but unfortunately, the only thing I can do is to describe the activity. So what you do, you put your students at one end of the room, and they work together in pairs, right? You put the text on the wall at the other end of the room. Student A receives a list of questions to the text. Student A reads the first question to the student B, and student B runs to the text, finds the answer, runs back to student A, and dictates, obviously, and dictates it. At some point, they change their roles. So student B reads the questions one by one, and student A runs and finds the answers in the text. What can be done after that? You just, obviously, the first pair to answer all the question wins, but it's not only about being the first, it's about being correct. So what else can be done here? After they have finished running, you give them the text back. Pairs look at the text and they check again if their answers are correct or not. You can exchange pairs and they will check each other. So something like that. Okay, number one more. Let me check if I haven't skipped. Okay. One more while reading activity. In that case, it might require some extra preparation from the teacher, but you never know what what I sometimes want my students to do. So, this activity is called compare and discuss. You give students work in pairs, and every student A and student B, they have similar texts, but some things are different there in these texts. Usually these are texts with some facts. Student A starts reading the text. So this is like, the Olympic Games were started by the Greeks more than blah, blah, blah. Student B listens, and when he or she hears something different, they ask their partner to stop. So we have here more than 3,500 years ago and less than 3,500 years ago. Students talk to each other, decide which answer is correct, and make necessary changes, and continue doing that, right? In that case, again, somewhere at paragraph 2, they exchange their roles. Partner B starts reading, and partner A checks if everything is right or not. Again, when the task is done, you can regroup your students. They compare, so partner A from group 1 compares the answers with partner A from group 2. And again, they see if the answers are correct or not. Obviously, the last stage is giving the students the right text with all the necessary proper correct information, and students compare and see how many things they have done correctly, what information they knew, and which information was just not, so they were not familiar with. Okay, move on. Again, in that case, you need to make some copies of the text. Here is the text, and I shadowed, sorry, every second line in the text. So if you see, we have some line 1, 3, 5, 7, so on and so forth. Students talk to each other. They make some notes on what might be hidden there. So what might be there in line 2, line 4, and so on and so forth. Talk, make notes, then you give them the answers and they check. So here is, so you see, here is the whole text here. So what you do, you simply take black marker, right, and you start working with that. Okay, why might this activity be useful? Because actually it helps students see the connection between words, between sentences, all these pronouns, so kind of developing reading sub skills even more, so to say, bottom up reading sub skills. And I would say it's kind of an activity you can use with exam class, with exam preparation classes. So you might think about it, consider it. Okay. Yeah, I agree that it's also that for this gap filling activity, and with that activity where they need to fill in the text with the sentence or part of the sentence, right? Good. Okay. I call it a crumpled text. Again, sorry, but a copy of the text, and you fold it several times, and you give your students all this. I have this kind of triangle, a pair of students. First, they open only one part of the text. They look at it and decide, and just they talk about the text, right? What they see here, or what the text might be about. So we have some robberies, some stealing, some shoes, shoe shop. So maybe there was some shoplifter who stole some shoes somewhere. Okay, not in Germany. Okay, Danish, Denmark, somewhere there probably. Then they open. Then you ask your students to open the second part. Again, they look. Again, they talk. They see if their previous predictions were correct. Come up with new ideas. Again, talk to each other. And just you continue unfolding, again, more and more, and finally the whole text. And we discuss how close they were to the text and what problems they faced. jammed text, let it be. So you take a text, copy again, copy, sorry for that. You jam it, and a few things you can do. You can either combine it with run and read. Students work in pairs. At one end of the class. The text is on the wall at the other end of the class. First student comes, has, let's say, 30 seconds, looks at what he or she can see, comes to the partner, dictates, and they make some notes of useful words or some important words. Then they exchange their roles. And again, run, dictate some words they have seen in the text. They do it several times. After that, they sit together in pairs and come up with the text. So they, again, based on what they have seen, they try to guess the content of the whole text. It's one of the options. Another option is that there is a group sitting or two people sitting. One student is standing with all this kind of cramped text. And okay, let me show you. And the one student shows this text to the group, to the partners. And again, partners try to guess, not guess, try to read at least something in the text, right? Then they, after some time, students talk to each other, and again, and again, reconstruct the content of the text. Some variations, yes, some kind of pirate's manuscript or pirate's map. What else can be done? You can take a text and, put some drops of ink there, just and say, okay, I'm so sorry. Just, I was not very attentive, and look what happened to the text, right? So it depends on the level of your students and just your creativity, right? But please make sure that the holes, okay, probably these big are not good to make. I would say it will be much more difficult for the learners to guess anything if the holes are like that, this size, maybe something smaller, right? You take a text, you cut it into 4, but you see how it is done diagonally. And you give the learners a set of questions. True, false statement, or questions, or any other task. First, they look through the parts they have and look at the questions, and they try to answer as many questions as they can, taking into account the information they have. Then they work, in this case, in group of 4 and help each other with the answers, or they might discuss some questions and say, okay, in my part, I have something about 125 shoe shops. Yeah, so they're talking to each other and then trying to come up with the correct answers. At this stage, they do not show their parts of the text to each other. It's very important. And only then they can put the text together and again check if the answers were correct or not. Okay. Something with very typical for the course book, where you need to put the paragraphs in the correct order. What I would do to make it more fun and more communicative is to cut the text into paragraphs. And in that case, the activity becomes, I don't know why, but in that case, activity becomes a little bit more engaging, entertaining. And if you have some students with kinesthetic learning preferences, yes, some movement, it will help them as well. Right? If you have some younger learners, it can be done on the floor. So just one of the options. Somebody has mentioned jigsaw reading, and I also have it in my presentation, in my webinar. So what does it stand for? Ideally, you have texts, 2 or 3 texts, very similar texts. These are taken from the Headway Elementary, and I would say that these sets of course books, Headway, they are quite rich in jigsaw reading tasks. So we have 3 texts, similar texts. Student A gets text A about Joyce Buse. Student B gets the text about Tommy Harrison. Student C gets the text about Alice Patterson Smith. And they also get a list of questions. These are the questions. They read, student A reads about his character, student B about his or her character, and student C about their character. And they fill in their column with all the necessary information. When they have done, student A goes to student A. Student B works with student B. Student C works with student C. And they compare if their answers are correct. If they have the same answers. That is the stage. So they compare. And only then we group them ABC together, ABC together, ABC together. And they start sharing information about their texts. Again, ideally, you give them some communicative task, why they need to listen to each other and to make notes. In my case, all these 3 people, they lived up to 100 or even more. And the question I gave them was just what do all these people have in common that made them live so long? So students report, yeah, they retell their text. I mean, just based on, they answer the questions, share the information with the partners, and then they decide. And just to spoil the pleasure, nothing makes you live till 100. So all these 3 people, they're different. Okay, so there is no rule, yes, for that. If it's not possible to find similar texts, you can take 2, okay, not 2 different, yeah, okay, a little bit 2 different texts on the same topic and different sets of questions. So first the student reads their text, answer the questions, and then they kind of exchange the questions, right? So student B reads a question and student A answers. So share kind of information about their text. Okay. If you remember this activity with the text cut and form, you can also transform it into a jigsaw reading task. Why not? And the last thing I would like to tell you about is reading or literature circles. Actually, this activity is used typically for some home reading. if you implement this type of reading with your students. When I worked at school, there were 2 years when I tried to make my students read at home a bit more in English. In some cases, it was quite successful. Well, but it can be implemented to the texts with the text from the course books, right? But again, depends on the content. You give the students the text to read. They read the text at home, and each of the students have their own roles. Let's look at some of the roles that you can assign. For younger students, it can be a leader. So the leader is the one who introduces what they have read and invites others to talk, to contribute. Usually, you assign this role to the student who is quite confident and who has some, let's say, weight in the class. A storyteller retells the story. Artist draws something from the story and tells the group what they have drawn. So again, just artist does it, so it's preparation. The artist does it at home, brings to school and shows and explains. A predictor shows what he thinks might happen in the text. And there might be some, again, discussion. But predictor is the one who has the role, so he starts. He also might draw the prediction and probably show the picture, and others might guess. A connector, as you see, thinks of something in their lives, probably something that happened to them or something that they have seen or have heard, which is connected to the text, and shares this information with the group. A question maker makes some questions to the text and asks the questions, asks the group, and the group try to answer. What else? Actor might, as you see, act part of the story and others have to guess. Bookworm connects the story to other books, movies, or TV shows. So some kind of similar to connector, right? But connector is talking about real life, probably. Bookworm talks about other, just fiction. Artist draws something from the story. Okay, did I have it before? Okay, sorry, if I repeat it, probably I've done it already. Okay. Favorite finder. So what was wrong with me? Favorite finder. Find your favorite part of the story and tell the others. Again, others might agree that it was their favorite story as well, as favorite part of the story as well, or not. So again, favorite finder, not what they've written. Okay, with all the students, it might be a director. Again, similar role. Okay, some roles can be the same as they have already mentioned for younger learners. But there might be some more. Clarifier clarifies difficult parts, just tells the others what he or she thinks the author meant. Research finds more about the text. Literary observer finds some literal devices and shares it with the others and explains why they think they are used in the text. And summarizer gives some kind of summary. Also, there might be some role of finding 2 or 3 new words from the text, interesting words from the text, and finding them definition and sharing with the group. Okay, so that's it from me about the tasks and activities. If you want to find out more about skills, in May we're starting our in-house course, which is 4 weeks long, and it will be about reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So as I told, it's our in-house course. We also have some CELT-P, CELT-S courses, Cambridge courses, which start in September, and some summer CELTA courses, online and offline. So, and they will start, nearest CELTA will start in May, at the end of May. So if you would like to join us, you're welcome. We'll be glad to hear and to see you in person, probably. And just the last slide is, yeah, if you want to find me on Facebook, you can do that as well, and I will be happy to see you there. Yes, and that's true that literature circles are good for literature lessons. So they can be used not only for lessons of English, so any, sorry. Okay, now I'm ready to answer your questions. If you have anything to ask, I will be ready to answer if I can. Okay. Thank you. Just one more hint for you is, if you want to remember some activity, it's very, very important to start using it straight away. So the tips you liked, you take them and implement in your classes, and you will, by doing that, you will make sure that you remember what to do. I hope that I just gave you some more fruitful ideas, because March and lack of vitamins and all this, again, working from home, if you're talking about presentation, there will be a record of it, and we will share it on our YouTube channel and Facebook. I hope so. Right? So thank you again. Have a nice day. I will stay here for 1 more minute. If you have any questions, I will be ready to help you and to answer them. We usually do not give certificates for free webinars. I'm sorry. Okay, then thank you very much again. Have a nice day and see you around one day. Anybody to ask anything, because I'm leaving? Goodbye then.